Hi there and welcome to this video about Robocraft 2. Robocraft 2, for those who don't know, is a game where you build your own robot out of different parts and then you fight other people in kind of an arena-like combat. And in this video I will take a closer look at building in this game. So Robocraft 2 is currently in a closed beta state. You can apply for access at the Robocraft 2 Steam page, and they will let more and more people play as the game develops. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link in the description below the video for that. If you wonder about like the huge plant, you might not be wondering about the huge plant in the background, but I kind of want to talk about it anyway. So that is cucumbers. Look, we already got a few of them. Don't grow those unless you have plenty of time for watering, because you need to water them a lot. But it's crazy kind of how big they get, and especially how big the leaves are. Like, I got a full curtain here now of cucumbers in the background. Anyway, let's get on talking about the actual topic for this video, which is not cucumbers, but building in Robocraft 2. Building in Robocraft 2 is very similar to Robocraft 1, and also similar to other type of building games where you place blocks and use those to build whatever you're building, like Space Engineers. Except in Robocraft, it's not that much engineering, it's very much plug and play. But anyway, you got a bunch of cubes and you use those to create a robot. In Robocraft 2, just like in Robocraft 1, there are different tiers. So you start out with very basic stuff, and then as you progress through the game, you build stronger and stronger robots using stronger and stronger cubes. You will compete against other robots that are in the same tier as you, so you won't be facing someone with tier 10 tank trucks and tier 10 guns when you have tier 1 guns and tier 1 wheels, for example. You're allowed to mix cubes from different tiers, so you can, for example, use tier 3 guns with tier 2 cubes, no problem. And the way the game kind of decides what tier you will end up in, you can see the tiers below here, it says tier 1 up to tier 10, is by your robo ranking that you can see in the left hand corner. You see when I place tier 1 cubes here, the tier or the robo rank goes up by kind of 1 Roborank per placed cubes. If I would place tier 5 cubes here instead, you can see that the Roboranking jumps by several hundred for every single placed cubes. And if I would place, for example, a tier 5 gun here, that single gun puts me in tier 4 immediately. So that's how the game kind of decides what tier you end up in. Lastly, before we actually start building a robot, I want to talk about garages. So we're in a garage right now, but you can have more than one garage. You can buy more garage space, and I don't know the max amount of garage space you can have, but I guess it's quite a lot. When you buy them, they have 500 CPU. Cubes cost 1 CPU to place. Guns cost like between 30, 40, something like that, and wheels as well, depending on what tier they are. Higher tiered guns and wheels cost more than lower tiered ones. So this means a rather small robot, but you can upgrade the garage space to make them bigger. So you can see here I upgraded one to 1400. If we click here, you can see we can upgrade it all the way up to 2000 CPU if we have the materials for it. I'm currently in tier 5, so I plan to build a tier 5 robot, but I will use the cube from tier 6 to protect the more important parts, like mounts for the guns, mounts for the wheels and protect the wheels, as well as the pilot seat. If I use those carefully, they will not really affect the robot ranking too much, so I think it's definitely worth it. Let's start building. There is mirror mode. Mirror mode works the way that you have a mirror line, and if you place something on one side, it will mirror it on the other, and that saves a lot of time. For some really weird reason, they don't have anything in the hints here that show that you actually got the mirror mode. They got hints for every other control, like placing cubes, moving the robot in the garage bay, stuff like that, camera movement as well, but not for the mirror mode. So the only way you can actually find that there is a mirror mode, if you didn't know about it, is by going to options and checking controls. And here we got like the mirror mode. I have no idea why they decided to hide the mirror mode in the options and not just have that in the hints here, like everything else. Anyway, let's get started. I will start with a very simple shape here. Just put some cubes along the floor, lift them up a bit to make it easier to construct stuff. Like this maybe. Then put some wheels on. You have two different type of wheels. You have fixed wheels and normal wheels. The difference is the fixed one don't turn as you turn the robot. So they are good to place kind of in the middle, because you don't want the wheels. Oh, I should take the kind of fixed tier 5 wheels. You don't want these wheels here to turn if you plan for more wheels. So let's actually make this one a bit longer and then put another pair of wheels here. So you don't want the middle ones to turn, so that's why I put fixed ones there. One thing, if I could wish something from Freeham, is that they actually put a key in to lock the camera. Because if I do like this and I build a lot and I want to speed up the footage, if I can fix the camera in one position and build, it's very easy to speed up the footage and it will still look good. If I speed up the footage and I can't fix the camera, it will jump a lot. So for content creators who want to post build videos, being able to fix the camera is a huge plus. Also, if you want to do that type of videos that I know, maybe Rosefall was it, that did that in Robocraft 1, where you build a robot, then you delete it, and then you play that up in reverse, and it looks like you're building a robot really fast. Well, anyway, to do that and to make it look good, you need to be able to fix the camera. So please, some key to fix the camera. I haven't found one in the options. So this is the basic shape here. And I will switch to another type of cubes now. So I'll switch to tier 5 cubes instead, because I want to be careful with the usage of the high tier 6 cubes. Now, if I place these ones, you can see that they are a little bit different texture wise, like the pattern here is a bit different from the tier 6 ones, but they are not that easy to distinguish. So what I will do as well is actually go into the color picker. You do that by pressing C and then Q to go into the inventory for color. You can actually choose any color you like, but only 6 per robot. So like I could change this to anything, right? But it will actually change down there, so that's really neat. But you can max have 6 colors in total. So I will use kind of a little lighter color when I have like a new or a different type of cube. So later, if I want to upgrade those cubes to a higher tier, it will be easy for me to spot what tier they are by just checking the color, right? So anyway, I will switch to tier 6 or tier 5 cubes, sorry, right now. Oops, that was tier 6 again. Tier 5, where do I have them here? And keep building a bit. I'll probably cut to a bit later in the build here. I have placed a bunch of cubes, and at this point there are 2 things I want to show. So like in the early days of Robocraft 1, you do have a pilot seat in Robocraft 2. They removed that one later on in Robocraft 1, but like early Robocraft 1 had a pilot seat, and that one you need to protect very well, because if someone managed to hit that one, destroy it, the rest of the robot goes. So put it somewhere safe, right? The second thing I want to show, let's grab that tier 5 cube again in place here. Now I have run out of blocks, and the way you make more is to go to Block Forge, provided you have the resources. You can click on the cube here, craft it, and decide how many you like. You can hold down Shift to make more of them at the same time, so that's handy. Actually, I would wish, again, like this is a thing about the UI, right? So the shift thing is something I just tested because it seems logical that if you hold down shift you would get 10 instead of 1, but it's not shown in the UI. So this should really show that somewhere, that you can actually hold down shift. I don't know, maybe you can see it in the options, but somewhere here it should be a hint that if you hold down shift you get increments of 10 here, right? So let's make a bunch of those and keep building. I will actually start by changing the cubes around the pilot seat for the tier 6 ones to protect it a bit better. So let's switch to color, to the darker color, just to spot them a little bit better. Going to build, choose tier 6 cubes, and I will replace the ones here for high tier ones. Like, I mean, if I lose this one, the rest of the robot goes. So might as well spend the valuable cubes here around this part or this section, right? It should be possible to place a cube here as well. Maybe behind as well. I don't know, like this. And also on the sides here. To protect this one as well as I possibly can, right? And I can also do the sides here, I guess. Oh, I run out of tier 6 cubes now. Let's do it like this, right? And then keep building on the rest of the robot. Before I keep building, I want to place some guns to kind of see how to shape up the rest of the robot. The important thing when placing guns is that they don't end up in the way of each other, so you kind of have to space them out a bit. Anyway, let's use tier 5 guns, both because I don't have any tier 6 guns, but also if I would place a bunch of tier 6 guns on this robot, I would most likely end up in tier 6 and not tier 5. You can see that they conflict with the cube behind them. So there's actually an easy way to solve that, and that is remove that cube. Now we can put them there. You can't also put them that close, you have to space them out a bit. So out here, like this. The second row, I want, if you put them too close, they will all, again, conflict with the guns in front. So like here, I think, and then I can have more rows here in behind. I also want to protect these cubes well. So I will make a few more tier 6 cubes and then exchange the cubes below and in front of the guns, and also add a bit more cubes on the sides here using tier 6 cubes. I have added a bit more protection around the guns now using the higher tier cubes, and also a bit of shaping here. Like we only have like 4 different shapes here, so the amount of different type of shapes you can create is rather limited. It will look rather blocky, but hopefully more shapes will come as the game gets closer to an actual release, right? It still will be hard to create like something that looks extremely good. Everything will be a bit blocky, especially if you want it to actually work well in combat, since you really need to focus on actually having gun clearance, gun depression, so you can actually shoot a bit in front of you, stuff like that, right? So if you make something that artistically look quite good, it will probably not be very good in combat. Anyway, I will add the rest of the guns, and then we take a look at the finished build. So this is the finished, and let me say, really ugly build. But in Robocraft 2's defense, I did not go for trying to make something that looks really good. You can probably make something that looks a lot better than this with the cubes and stuff we have. I just wanted to showcase how Robocraft 2 building works. But for those who remember early days of Robocraft 1, if you want a combat effective robot, you kind of end up with certain shapes that might not be very aesthetically pleasing. And the reason for that is how guns work. You kind of need to spam them. People will try to aim for your guns and degun you, and you need a certain amount of guns to have good DPS, to keep a high fire rate. If you lose guns, you lose fire rate and DPS. So you need to kind of figure out a way to spread them out, and also like have them at different heights, so you have gun clearance and also quite good gun depression if you want to kind of aim downwards, down a hill or something like that. So there's also a limit to how good you can make something look and still be viable in combat. I say finished build despite being at 968 CPU out of 1400, and the reason for that is if I place a cube here and another gun, I immediately jump to tier 6 because of my robot ranking. So CPU is not really that important for what tier you end up in, it's the robot ranking. So if I, for example, had you been using like lower tier cubes here, these are tier 6 cubes. If I would have been using tier 5 cubes here, I could have fit a few more cubes. Or maybe if I had been using lower tier wheels, I could also have been able to afford more guns, for example. Anyway, another neat thing that for some reason they don't show in this menu hints here is that if you press Ctrl Z, like you could do in any type of, well, a lot of programs anyway, you actually undo your actions. But anyway, if we don't like these colors, it's really easy to change. We don't have to do it individually. We can just click on a color. So these are the dark cubes here, and change to whatever color we want. So maybe blue here. For this one, yellow, because I'm Swedish. I'm not sure if this is better looking, but at least it's the Swedish colors. So that's really neat. Anyway, let's take this robot to battle. That was it for this video. Hope you thought it was good. If you did, give a thumbs up. You might, of course, also consider subscribing. You can do that below somewhere. Well, you know how to subscribe to YouTube channels. I don't need to tell you that. What can you expect from this channel in the future? Well, it turns out this will probably be kind of a mixed channel, but focused on kind of games where you as a player kind of craft and make stuff, because I like crafting things, so in computer games. So Robocraft, of course, but also crafting survival titles, and I probably will do some other titles just because I like a game or something like that. So a bit more mixed content, but if that's something you are into, then, well, you know what to do. That was everything for this video. Cheers!